is a huge case. This is something straight out of the National Enquirer. Jealous girlfriend murders new girlfriend, and they're high school kids.
Two girls who had everything in front of them.
All the girls wanted to be her, and all the boys wanted to be with her. So many people knew this was building up.
Hey, I'm going there to confront this girl because she's after my boyfriend, and we're gonna have it out in the street. It was just a fast, furious throwing of fists, and the problem with that is that she had a knife in one of those hands.
How many 19-year-old little petite blonde women do you see on Murderer Row, you know?
Why a life worthy of leading has the never-ending feeling of a wasted mind. I'll say our love as we pass on the way to the feeding.
I don't know how to describe Pinellas Park. It doesn't have a great reputation. It's not like it's a bad part of town. It's a blue-collar community. It really is.
This took place in middle-class America. A sunny, seaside, suburban community between high school kids.
For most people, high school is a coming-of-age story. But for those involved in the case of Sarah Ludeman and Rachel Wade, their senior year was less like Fast Times at Ridgemont High and more like Scream.
Sarah's parents were a lot older. They'd waited like 16 years to have a kid. So she was their one and only. She was a total like daddy's girl, the light of his life. You know, he picked her up at the bus stop. Her parents had both grown up and been married in New York, but when they decided they wanted to have a child, they moved to Florida where it would be less dangerous. Sarah had never had a boyfriend at all. So here she's 18 years old. She's never had a date. You know, all her other friends have already lost their virginity, gone, you know, away with guys or whatever. And she'd never had a boy interested in her.
According to Sarah Ludeman's friends, she first met Josh Camacho in the spring of 2008 during a chance encounter at a local fast food restaurant.
She was cute. And he was sort of a rough guy. And she went, wow, me?
He basically like came out and made eyes at her and winked at her, and she was like done. Like, oh my God, this guy really, really likes me.
For the teenage girl, that boyfriend at 18, 17, that's epic. That's an epic love story to the girl. Everything else does not matter in their life. It's just him. So he can do whatever he wants to her, and Josh certainly took advantage of that.
She transferred high schools in her senior year to be at his high school.
She was totally smitten with him.
When they got to the high school, he sort of started ignoring her in front of his friends.
Josh would never hold hands with Sarah in public. I look at this and I say, why was he embarrassed by her? Why did he not show his affection to her?
It's like Grease, you know, like when summer loving is great, and then you get back to high school and they're like, I don't know who you are, you know. So she was heartbroken and kind of kept at him.
Hello, 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 hello. Good morning. My name is Priscilla. Welcome to a new day today on Focus on Liberia. Remember, this is where we talk about our perspective, revisiting our mindset when it comes to women and girls, and people who are gender non-conforming, gender non-binary, they are referred to as sexual and gender diverse population. Sexual gender diverse population. So we revisit our entrenched bias, um, our cultural conditioning. So welcome. Stay with me this morning. We're going to be talking about misogyny and how it excuses the behavior, the choices, the decisions of men, and blame everyone else except men. So why is that so? Why do we think like that? We're going to be questioning, having some deep thinking. um let's just exchange ideas, let's just exchange perspective. And this is because something happened recently in the Liberian community, and we're going to come to it later. But I just wanted to introduce why we're here today. If you've been following a new day, this is what we do on Sundays. We kind of revisit our biases because we're trying to work towards a new day, and it comes from our mindset. We believe that there may be policy change. We believe that there may be structural changes. I'm sorry. We believe that there may be policy changes. There will be laws put into place. But in order for us to really impact structural changes, we need to have a shift in our mindset and attitude. Hence, a new days. Hence a new day on Focus on Liberia. So yeah, the clip that I started with is from the documentary titled Sex, Lies, and Murder. So this one is found on Roku TV. You can check it out yourself. You can also find a clip of it on YouTube. The title is Mean Girls. Is about this quote unquote love triangle. So this guy is having a relationship with multiple girls. And yeah, let me just show the other part of it and we can talk about it later. All right, so now I'm going to move to the second clip.
Josh believed that, I could have 4 or 5 girlfriends, and I didn't have to love any one of them particularly. I just had to keep them all going.
He really had something about him that drew these women to him, and a way of making them feel like they were special.
As reported by Lane DeGregory, who spoke to almost all involved, at the time Josh Camacho was dating Sarah Ludeman, he was also dating 2 other women.
He had a baby with one girl who he just called the baby mama. Then he had this I'm gonna sleep over Rachel's house thing because she had her own apartment. Sarah still lived at home with mom and dad and had a curfew. So he'd basically hang out with Sarah till she had to go home to mom and dad and then go over and hitch up with Rachel for the night.
I think that he enjoyed that part of it, seeing 2 people, that interested in him. He kind of just got off on being the center of attention, basically.
When I look at Sarah, I see someone who's motivated to go to college, getting a degree, going on to a great job, having Thanksgiving with the family. And then we look at Rachel.
By the time she hit 14, 15, she was like, you can't tell me what to do. You can't tell me what to do. So she basically started staying out all night, disobeying her parents with their curfews, not telling them where she was going.
Rachel dropped out of school. She goes to work at a restaurant as a waitress.
More than anything, she wanted to have her own apartment and her own car, so she got this job at Applebee's. Sarah saw a post on Rachel's MySpace. That was maybe the initial moment.
After they discovered each other through social media and realized they were both dating Josh Camacho, the bad blood between Rachel and Sarah quickly escalated.
Sent Tuesday, August 26th at 10:13 a.m. Please tell me, Sarah, why you would be a dumb to put a brand new picture of you and Josh at the beach on your MySpace. End of message.
Multiple police records indicate that in 2008, there was a series of altercations between Josh, Rachel, Sarah, and another young woman who was the mother of Josh's baby. As matters progressed into 2009, Rachel and Sarah focused on each other, while the mother of Josh's baby attempted to free herself from the situation.
It seemed like she knew she didn't have a claim on Josh, where the other two girls were both like, he's mine, no, he's mine. She's also got a baby to take care of at this point in time. She was kind of content to let him see the baby.
As documented in numerous text messages, voicemails, and social media postings, Sarah and Rachel's feud over Josh was public and directed at each other.
Sent Friday, August 29th at 4:33 p.m. Hey Sarah, it's Rachel. It's so funny how you talk and you want to sit there and say that my man was at your house. Then tell me what he was wearing tonight, Sarah. You're dumb for real.
This left many to ask why their anger wasn't directed at Josh.
They both knew Josh was cheating on him, that he was going with the other girl, that he was having sex with them. And they were both paying for him, for giving him food and taking him places. He didn't have a job. And yet they weren't mad at him. They were mad at each other. And that's baffling to me.
Sarah.
And yeah, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. That is always baffling to me as well. We're going to be unpacking misogyny that excuses men from the decisions they make. Let's look at this. Why is it that when it's a situation that a man make a conscious decision of, we tend to overlook the man's role in the entire situation? This plays out in a lot of ways. They can happen when, a guy is having a relationship with two girls or two women. This can happen when a guy and a lady are partners, either they're married or they have a long-term relationship, they're staying together, and then she has her child living with them, and then that child is a stepchild, and this man is taking advantage, abusing that child. It may be sexually, sometimes it will be physically, uh, especially when it's a girl child. And then the blame is, it is usually not that the man is doing abuse, but most times it is either the little girl, or the girl is dressing provocatively, or the woman will be pressured, or the woman will be advised or told to take her daughter out of the house to save her marriage. There were situations like that, cases like that was brought to my attention. And they send these exchanges. Actually, I was in this woman group, and then that was the situation. And like almost everyone in the group telling her to send her daughter away to save her marriage. And then another situation, yeah, where a supervisor at one of my old places of work was asking me whether I'm aware of any means by which this little girl, because they had this African family, and then the supervisor husband was the child protection person on this case here, and they were looking for a home for the girl since they were African. So they contacted me to ask me whether I have a space in my home, or whether I know someone. What was the issue? The issue was that the stepfather was abusing the girl, And so they try to cover it up. So because this guy knew this family well, they didn't want to end up putting her into foster care right away, so they just wanted to find a home for her. And the mother was trying to keep her man. So initially, she thought to send her daughter back to the West African country that I don't want to say the name, well, neighboring that they came from, wanted to send the daughter back. And the daughter father was like, no, you can't send her back here. This place is not okay. So then she was like, well, she can't stay with me because I have to save this, my relationship. And this child was a child, and that plays out in a lot of different ways. There's another case where this lady in a group that women group that we are complaining about this little girl who she took her from 11-year old or something younger than that and took care of her, was nice to her, was kind to her, and bought her first days at 14, introduced her to this life and introduced her, and was just so generous with her and taught her how to drive, and she got her driving permit at the age of 16, and blah 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 blah, and how nice she was. But then at the end of the day, she was sleeping with her husband, and I'm trying to tell her that sounds like a predatory situation. Your husband is preying on this child. But the mindset is to accuse, and a lot of those cases that some of us are aware of, you know. So yeah, I could go on and on. We ourselves, most of us are aware of cases like that. You know, guys will go, maybe start having relationship, if not with your stepdaughter, and then with your sister, you know, or a friend or anyone, but instead of really examining the power dynamics, like who will be in the right position to initiate this kind of who will be in the right position to initiate this kind of relationship, we're not going to really critically think about that. And we know culturally, most times it's guys who initiate relationship. We know, because if no matter how we like guys, we've been socialized to be quiet, to not be aggressive, to not be forward as women, as girls. So some of us like guys, but we wait for the guys to make the first move. That's how we've been conditioned. So if you see a relationship, except if it happens where girls are forward like some of us are, they will just be maybe 30% of the time, or maybe 25, or maybe less, or I don't know the statistics. But um you know, it's safe to assume, based on our social conditioning, that guys are the one who make the first move for relationship. Yet will argue and say, yeah, but you're supposed to refuse. Yes, but you're supposed to refuse, not paying attention to the different factors. You know, maybe he's pressuring her, or maybe he exploiting some situation. This is a struggling girl who can afford school fees, or her parents are struggling, and he's coming, bringing gifts, and just love bumping. Or it may just be on just different conditions. You know, before this whole thing that happened in Liberia happened, we again was having similar discussion with another sister. We are in this women movement something, and she's sharing about, you know, all the she just got divorced, and all the people coming at her, you know, were married guys. And so we're talking about how, but at the end of the day, the wives will start, you know, making stuff about, you're trying to wreck my home, you're going after my man. And I was like, they don't even consider that most of these guys can be nuisance. You know, most of the my man, you know, and my man this and that, like in people private spaces and things. But yet we will say, yeah, but that man, that man can go for anything. That was somebody pushed back to me in another woman space. That was somebody pushed back to me. Man can go for anything, and then I asked her, so are you anything? Because she was going on to about somebody coming after her man, and I'm like, if your man do this, well, but he's a man can go for anything. And I'm saying, really think about that statement you're making, because he went for you. So in other words, you anything, or maybe you are an exception, everybody else is anything. So how come we do not have any expectation for these guys that we claim to be our men, that are tell married women most times that we did elaborate weddings for, with, and we wrote people, we collected people big money, as is, it's a common practice in our midst. We did all this full, I mean, after all the elaborate ceremony, we gave our lives to these guys. We have children. Our children came out of our bodies. We take care of these children. These children are bearing these guys' name. Some of us, we table our dreams, and to push these guys forward. We support them. We give them our sweat, blood, and everything. We cook, we clean, we make their life easy by the things that we do, so that they can be able to pursue their dreams. So these are the guys who, if anything, they should owe much more loyalty than people from outside. Yet we will argue that another woman, because she's our friend, well, she was my best friend. Yeah, how much have you given your best friend? If you weigh it, put it on a scale, how much have you put in to a relationship with your best friend as compared to a relationship with a guy that you wait for 10 years or 5 years or 1 year? The point is, he is the one who committed. He is the one who and you got in some form of commitment, whether it was married in the church and your vow, it was that. Or is it because the preaching is, and let no, they want where God put together, let no man put asunder. Maybe the message should be, this one that you're come here together, you and Paul, don't open the door for another person to come in, or maybe do not allow anybody else come in, but it should be your first and foremost. So it is the two of you who made some form of commitment. Maybe you didn't go to the church, but the fact that a guy and a girl comes together, and then something else is happening outside of that first relationship, then the girl is going to first and foremost, whether it's a child, I mean, it's just so entrenched that that's at every level. Guys are excused, children um being abused, and in our society, um that's just what we do. That's just what we do. We we tend to overlook the guy's role in all of it. We tend to overlook the guy's role in all of it, or minimize it. And our argument would be that, but she dealt with him at home, but then you deal much more harsher with the person from outside than this guy that you have a commitment with. Someone sent me or something, or share or something about, and then this woman, she went to her husband wedding, only to find out it happened in Mozambique or somewhere, only to find out that her best friend husband was getting married too. The best friend betrayed her friend, and I'm asking her, I say, wait, did you say she go to the husband wedding? So she didn't have problem with going to the husband wedding, but she had problem with the fact that it was her best friend. And the betrayer is the best friend, not the husband who was getting married to another person. And they just, those are all the kind of mind, those are all the kind of thinking that maybe we need to start looking into. Why do we always like go after someone else when we have a relationship with a guy who we're talking something else? We're talking something else, yet we do not the kind of drastic measure, the kind of drastic actions we take against someone from outside. Again, it may be our own children. Women will give up their own children to stay in a relationship with a predator because she see the threat, she see the problem as her child, as her sister, as her friend, as her cousin, as anybody other than this guy. Because after all, he's a man. You know, men, they're weak. But she been told this man is her head, is the leader. Really? How can you have somebody you put on a pedestal, yet you have no high expectation for them? Yeah, you excusing so quickly when something go the way it's not supposed to go. Why do we do that? Recently, something happened in the Liberian community. It was so sad and I was heartbroken. It was really sad to watch the video of a lady brutally assaulting a girl. And I know this is now a popular perspective. I know most of us, we've had our conversations in our private spaces and we argue in gathering, this and that. Yeah, the other girls supposed to say no. Well, but she know that they may marry. I know. So my perspective is not a popular one. But I don't think because it isn't, it is wrong. Because you think that another girl should be the one to protect what you have. These girls, they're too much for themselves, you know. I mean, again, I could go on and on and on and on and on. A lady brutalized a girl because she thinks the guy, whatever arrangement she has with the guy is not the problem. The girl is the problem. This is something that is that has its root from self-hatred. It has its root in misogyny. The negative prejudice against women and girls. The hatred of women and girls. It may be something that you argue with against, you argue against with me. It's fine. But it doesn't change that the reality is that our world hates women. Men hate women. Men have taught us to hate us. So women hate women. That's misogyny. You only have to hate yourself to be so critical of yourself, to be so hard on yourself. We really have to hate ourselves to think that when there is a mess, we're responsible. We've been taught that we're responsible. I did a blog post on what happened recently where the Vivian girl brutally assaulted the other girl. I did a blog post, which is a repeat of something that I wrote about the same issue last year after I watched this documentary that I started with at the beginning, where you saw it when the journalist was asking, the one that's doing the investigation, that they knew that this guy was playing games with them. This guy wasn't even working. These girls are working to support him. They knew this guy was the one who is the problem. Yet they were at each other, sending text message, cussing each other up, instead of directing the anger towards the guy. I wrote about that last year because I got reminded. It was in the middle of the night, watching to do, and I saw that scene At the end, you can check it. You can check out the documentary. At the end, the other girl ended up killing the other girl because they were at each other, and then one day they driving past each other, and then the other girl, one of friends, they saw the other girl driving past. They said, "Oh, there she is." They stopped their cars, got out, and they started fighting. And one of them had knife and stabbed the other one. When she was taken to the hospital, she died. When they called 911, she died. So the other girl ended up being sentenced. So you're going to spend your life in prison, and then this guy moves on. Nothing. It's the same thing that would have happened because from the video we saw from Liberia, Vivian had or scissors or something, but she had something. It was really tough for me to watch that video. But those are the kind of things we resort to in the name of my man. We'll share stuff like somebody shared something one time, and the girl is doing track and field. They just took that picture and then they put on it. That's how single women should be running away from married men. So I wrote on it, I say, yeah, why single women on top of girls, warding off unwanted touch, sexual harassment, protecting themselves, working with pepper spray so that they can be sexually assaulted or raped, or harassment at work, or just the unfairness and discrimination of society, because this society is set up for married people. On top of all the other things that a single person had to deal with, she should also put on top of it protecting your marriage for you, running away from married men. Why is your scrutiny never on your married men? Why is your expectations not on your men? Why do I have to run away? So that you can boast that he's a good husband, he's faithful, he does. Meanwhile, the other women should be doing the work, be refusing him, be rejecting him. And then he's still coming on them, whether in inbox or phone or whatever. Other women should do the work. The same way society will say, yeah, women should cover up so men can rape, or women should be quiet so men can be violent and commit domestic violence, or women, there's just nothing men should do. There's a whole presentation here that I had to come back to give my perspective on. A woman gave birth, she should still be doing this, she should do that, she should do this, she should do this. Not half of that was said about what the men should do. Okay, or someone say, we're not in a movie. We're talking about reality. You can't expect the men to have gone through changes. What changes? Did he give birth? Was his body just almost ripped open for another human being to come out? What hormone is he experiencing? Is he bleeding? His vagina on fire for days? What is he going through? Oh, you're not be able to have normal and regular sex, and you on top of it, you got to be attending to him as well. While you just had a young baby, you have your body healing, and you have other smaller children. Why do our society put men so much on high pedestal, if not for misogyny? If not for misogyny. That's what played out recently. With the whole Vivian thing. And there are people who still strongly believe, yeah, that how they can do, they go beyond people. Sorry, sister, if you're feeling so worthless in your relationship. Because to feel that way, it means that guy is making you feel worthless. I'm sorry. Usually I talk to men, but let me talk to us, our sisters. Most of us who can be instigating that, We're so unhappy in our relationship. We're not respected. The guy we're with is not showing us respect and doing exactly that. We don't have the confidence. We don't have the audacity. We don't have the courage to speak up for ourselves in our relationship. So we project. By the time another person having a relationship, we jump on it. Yeah, she see it, so she knows that the man was married, and so, and then we instigating the other lady because we're so unhappy in ours. That's exactly what is happening in ours, but we don't have the power to speak for ourselves or to move on or to have other relationship as well. Then I can tell some of us, see, we are all equal in this world. You're having a relationship with a guy, and a guy says, okay, to have multiple relationship, go ahead and have multiple relationship as well. You know, as a kid, the first time this kind of reasoning I got exposed to it, maybe 7, 8 year old. I mentioned that in my blog post. Growing up in the community of West Spring, where I was born and raised. Yeah, I'm from West Spring. So slum community in Liberia. That where I was born and raised. Um, so I get up in the middle of the night, the noise. You know, West Spring, the houses so close together, right? So one person yelling at another person, you can hear everything. But as a kid, I was scared. I got up. What's going on? And I came outside, and our yard is full of people. There's a group of people. Yeah, blow her. She understand. She understand. Like, what's going on? Then later, sleep clever. I start seeing Claire. I see another woman is trying to attack another girl. The man is in the middle blocking her. And she cussing, she would take right, she throwing it over him. And then the next thing someone would say, oh, the girl you can see her through the window, and then the woman will run on the other side to go pass through the window to the other lady, and then the man will run and block the window. And oh, you blocking me, and she will not come outside. I wait. Do they want to that one? And so and everybody. And then I'm asking I just couldn't understand, like, why intercessor and so want to attack intercessor and so. Oh, because someone said, you get up, and then they say, then intercessor and so she loving to the uncle sister and so, okay. So hurting the intercessor. So why she not beating uncle sister and so? And then I get to, when you grow, you understand, and when you see another woman behind your man, you must bathe her. And just say you want to cook for her, or you must do this. When this is someone explained to me, then at the woman and it just did not make sense to me. But I was in so much distress as a kid because this girl is trying to hurt this other lady. And I know that when I go to this other incident place that I used to go to my friends, I used to meet this guy there. So he used to go to the other auntie place. It's not that the auntie was coming to his place. He used to go to her place. She just came that night to visit when this other auntie wasn't there. The both of them. But I mean, that was my formative stage as a kid, and then you being trained. Say, this is how it works. When you grow up, when this is so and so, harm the other person. That left a really troubling impression on my young mind. And growing up throughout my years, it was just something that I had problem with. So now, as I continue to understand the world, I realized that misogyny is entrenchedly rooted in our psyche. It takes all this form of excusing guys. Let me just read a few comments or question or contribution. Someone say, "Good evening, big sister." Good evening, Mr. Family. Thank you for coming on. Agnes, I don't know what I think she's clapping. Back to you. Hello, Boyino watching from PA. Thank you, Boyino, for watching. Miss Famula say her husband is the one that responsible. She can put the blame on the little girl. Um, Someone say hello, Boyino watching. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, I mean, just why? You know I have prepared a slideshow for this for this conversation, but then I started panicking because it wasn't working behind the scene, and I don't trust it to work properly now. Um, but yeah, if you have something to share, let me understand why. So I just share about my childhood memories, which was served as a foundational experience that shaped me as an adult, or foundational experience that will shape our adult perspective. The thing about women clashing over a man's action, but not holding him accountable, it's always been baffling to me. We saw in a clip that I showed from the beginning, the journalist voice just what I've been thinking. I've always thought, why don't we go after the guy in the middle? Why do we go after each other? The man is a common denominator, yet he often escapes responsibility in our consciousness. Why? We misapplied our anger. Now that social media is a thing, that's where people are fighting. Somebody goes ahead and recall assault because in her mind she's justified. And many of us who are sad in our relationship because we resign ourselves to mediocre relationship, we resign ourselves to relationship where the guy will have multiple relationships, but then we're not brave, we're not courageous enough to do the same thing. So we resign ourselves as victims of other women that we quote unquote refer to as sad chicks. We resign ourselves to being victims of people that we think they are the problem. So we call them sad chicks. You know, in one of these exchanges a year or two ago, and then in another women group, and then I'm still articulating these things, and then the other girl comes or she say, because you're a sad chick, that why you always pushing this perspective. You never been married before, that why you pushing this perspective. I say, please, girl. I was married for more than a decade. I just do not believe that if my husband or boyfriend decide he's going to have multiple relationship, that are supposed to be a victim of that. I take it as a green light to have multiple relationships as well. So some of us, we project, we push that because we've been made to feel worthless in our relationship. We need to be brave. If you're brave to go and start fighting and cussing at other women, how come you can't be brave to have other relationship, just like the guy that you feel that you're being victimized by is doing? Unfortunately, misogyny is deep rooted in our psyche. Most of us have been conditioned to respect men more than we respect ourselves, more than we respect other women, more than we respect little girls. Even in the community, we always say, someone, oh, growing up, a guy will have more than one woman in his life, and they are all vying to have a male child for him, and they'll name him Junior, name it after him. And then like that, and then you have hit the mark. You have achieved the ultimate as a woman. It's sad. It's sad that our conditioning will be to be vying to have a male child who has the name. That's why if you don't even have a male child, then you see women, they will rather, if they have a girl child, still have to have the man, even though already society have taken, wipe your name off the child that came out of your body. The child is bearing the man's last name, and still some of us will go as far as the child will stay, if that girl child, she will still take the man's first name. Maybe Jacqueline, because she's now a girl, a boy, to be called Jack Johnson. So it should be Jacqueline or Thomas Lynn, because her first name is Thomas. Let's please, really, let's think about how we've been conditioned to believe that we exist. Our very worth, our value is based on how we meet men's expectation at different levels, in different forms. Maybe as his girlfriend, or as his wife, or as his baby mom who born the boy children, or as the one who get a child, will get a man name, the man full name, or get a junior for him, or just something. We're talking about equality and empowerment. We need to start having these kind of conversations. We need to start having these kind of conversations so that we can have shift. The language that we use, I always talk about the power of language. The language that we use to frame these discussions, these conversations, the language that we use. She came behind my man. She came behind my boyfriend. People will do things, how they call things like, side chick. The other time I had to ask one of my dear sister, side chick and side chicks. I said, so who are the men that they quote unquote side chicks are sad too. Why all the shaming of girls and women? Men having multiple relationship and they not mentioned. Would you hear side chick? And then the man is the one who gets the prestige. Yeah, he a married man. That's why you're supposed to respect yourself. So what happened to the man? He need to do anything to respect himself? The choice of language. When somebody come, when someone come behind my man, one of my sisters this morning she wrote me because she was like, "You were talking the same thing last year." I said, "Yeah." I did a blog post and then they were commenting back and forth, and I was like, I have even a problem with people saying, and then she came behind my man. I can say this person and this person and my husband are having a relationship. Watch my choice of words. Now she came behind my man, or she in a relationship with my man. No, two people are in a relationship. She's not the subject yet. This guy here is not a passive recipient. The relationship didn't happen to him. He's an active participant. My husband and Maybe are having a relationship, as opposed to Maybe is in a relationship with my husband. My boyfriend and Pauline are having relationship, as opposed to Pauline is in a relationship with my boyfriend. Language matter. Vivian case, her mind is telling her, and people who are around her keeps telling her that Naomi is the problem. So she goes and brutalizes Naomi. We need to challenge the idea that men can be passive victims in situations as seen in Vivian incident. Let's change societal narratives and perspective. Yeah, even though Naomi was not right to go to the main place, but Vivian took it too far. No, Naomi didn't break in. The guy the guy who Vivian wants to kill Naomi about, what's his name? Steven. What they said the other day I saw in the news, the police calling him. Steven invited Naomi. Steven gave Naomi access. Somebody from inside lets the other person from outside within. That's my point. How come we do not focus on the person who's doing the letting in of another person? Because he's a man. Do you see? We excuse men in all kinds of ways. And put all the expectation. We hear children are being raped and women are being raped in Liberia. We hear say, yeah, but the parent was supposed to So it's never about the person who committed the act. It's never about the rapist. We hear women are being brutalized in domestic to do. Yeah, she's supposed to leave. No, it's never about the person who is a domestic violent abuser. Why don't we ask the question, why is he abusing her? But then it would be, why is she staying? But why she follow the man in the first place? As though When he came, he announced himself as an abuser. Oh, abusers don't announce themselves as abuser. And then when she gets in, you don't know what he using to keep her in. He say economic advantage. He say he's threatening her child. He say her family. They're just different means. Especially abusers, they rush to get commitment. They want marry or they want children, and then they know a woman is pregnant, then they start because it makes it harder for her to get out. As I wrap up, I'm going to appeal to us to make a commitment to reframe these kind of narratives and avoid blaming the wrong people when it comes to relationship dynamics. Maya Angelou said, know better, do better. It's a new day. Let's start having conversations with enlightened mindset and attitude so that we can use maybe using the right voice, choice of voice will help us look at issues differently. Because again, language is a powerful tool. Language matter. Let's rewrite the narrative so that the next generation, we can be telling little girls like the age I was, and then get in the middle of the night to a community fight, and then being told, oh, it's because maybe came after Samuel Lane and man. As though Samuel Lane is so, the man is so helpless, no entity. Let's embrace a new perspective. Accountability should be demanded from the proper place. If you get in relationship with a guy, you and he have a commitment, let's talk about these things. Are we going to be exclusive? It's just me and you, or you going to have other girls? And then he said, oh no, because we don't want to be honest. That's another thing. That's a whole other conversation that I usually have in private spaces with other people who am I on other level communicate. If we were honest and upfront, no, this is not going to be exclusive. No, let's make it open. Okay. So then I know you're going to have other relationship. I can also have other relationships. But no, our society will stare the woman down, shame her, stigmatize her. George or Ashley, and most women are not, they don't have the courage to go through that. So then we resign ourselves to this guy alone while having multiple relationships. But then instead of telling him, okay, since I don't have the right to do this, you can't. No, then instead it's outside that will be going to be fighting other people and be ignoring the main issue. It is important to place accountability where it belongs. It's not only in man-woman relationship. That's how we will even be able to interpret issues in the larger society. When politicians become corrupt, we'll be able to see it for what it is and not be placing blame on other people. Anyway, so this is what I wanted to talk about today. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for joining me. We will continue to engage on this subject. We'll continue to revisit, engage our mindset and attitude. Thank you, Jimmy, for joining me and staying with me up to this point. It's a new day, it's a new beginning. Let's encourage each other for a new mindset and attitude. Talk to you next Sunday. Take care. Have a new week. Bye-bye.